Welcome and welcoming everyone. Thank you so much for joining. I'm very happy to welcome you here on our sixth Artist Roundtable. Time is flying, really. Now we are here to talk about crafts. My name is Marie Wittig, and I work for Culture Action Europe in the Culture and Health Department, together with my colleague Cornelia Kisch, who is also here. Um, we are leading the Culture and Health Platform, which is an EU-wide initiative that started last year in November. And today I'm here with two esteemed speakers and artists that are NIEKE KOEK from the Netherlands. And then we have LIDIJA Piskar from Bosnia. Yeah, I'm very much looking forward to your contributions already. But before we get there, I would love to just give you a brief overview of what's happening today. And to do so, I will share my screen again. Um, to start with, let me just give you a brief overview of today's roundtable. I will start by providing a quick overview of the project. Then we will have our speakers. NIEKE runs a project on hospital care. To be more precise, it's on where she works with patients with chronic pain. And then we will hear from LIDIJA, who focuses on elderly care. Um, and then finally, after those speakers, we will have our breakout rooms for your questions and contributions. Also, I would like to point out that we record the first part of the event, but we will stop the recording before we start the breakout rooms. So you will hopefully feel at ease and are willing to share all your questions and thoughts that may come up. Um, okay, so let's start with an overview of the project. So also the framing of this roundtable is a bit more clear, maybe. The platform originates in the Culture for Health project and its resulting Culture for Health report. I mean, in short, or yeah, to put it very briefly, the Culture for Health report puts together how culture and cultural activities contribute to health and well-being. And the main link between the two projects is that many of the recommendations that can be found in the Culture for Health report are being implemented now in the platform project. The Culture for Health platform has currently a landing page, which you can access via the address below. It will be updated very, very soon. So also all the artists that we are supporting will be visible, and you can find them online on the homepage. But let me tell you first what the platform that we here talk about is and what it does. As you can see here, it truly is an EU-wide initiative. In total, we have currently 16 members in 14 countries, and we are still growing. Each year, we have one new member from a new country. So I do hope that your country, just in case it's not part of the platform yet, will be part of it very soon. Let's go to the platform actions next. So we provide financial support for projects selected via yearly national calls, and from next year onwards, also via yearly EU-wide calls for all the countries where there are no national calls. I would also like to point out here that our target group are artists and not organizations. And in particular, artists who are now emerging in the field of culture and health. Well, we offer capacity buildings, both online and on location, on an international level, but also in local languages. Then we offer the shadowing programs, where we invite artists to learn from other artists in other countries. Of course, we also mentor and support the artists that we selected via our programs. We increase their visibility via events, just like the Turku showcasing event that we're hosting next week only in Turku. And then we also raise awareness in the health and social sectors for the opportunities that culture offers. Yeah, we also organize these roundtables, of course, to create a platform of exchange, to learn from each other and to connect, really. Yes, just because the aim of these roundtables is to share with like-minded, trusted people. Let's call them your future friends, maybe. Your experiences, best practices, pitfalls, but also the opportunity to ask questions and to be to have this honest exchange. But without further ado from my side, I would like to give the mic to NIEKE from the Netherlands, who will give you a brief introduction of herself first, and then share with you what she's been doing. NIEKE, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Marie. Thank you for the intro. And how nice to see all these people coming to the roundtable. So yeah, I'll share indeed. Let me see if I can be this handy by making it full screen.
It's coming.
Is there a picture?
Fantastic.
Okay. Well, that's me when I was 13. And I grew up with a father being a theater maker, a well-known theater maker, and this was me playing Antigone. And it was one of the most transformative moments of my life, I think, because I saw people that I just had lunch with who felt like my aunties and uncles because I was so familiar with them. And then we first were eating sandwiches, and then like 15 minutes later, we would be on this rehearsal stage, and then the director or my father would say, "Okay, let's go." And then they all transformed like magically into this entirely different entity with using their jaw in a different way, and their voice changed and their body language changed. And I was there and I was mesmerized. So I think before that, there was also some fascinations about the body, but here's, I think, where I really started to consider the body and body awareness as a very interesting artistic instrument. And that's where I think it started there. And so I started to document all the crazy dreams I had about the body or experiences. So here are a few of those small sketches. And I started to make these three-dimensional kind of expressions, or trying to chase some kind of experience that I had, maybe on a more subconscious level, and then trying to make it into a materialized form. This was in 2009, and I was curious what it would be like to be a foot. So I created a shoe with 4 cameras, and I started to walk, and there's a whole video of it. And I presented it in a gigantic box, and you could enter and sit on a pillow, and then this whole image around you, on top of you, and in front and the sides, it would be sort of like, and this is how we all could be a foot, my right foot to be precise, for a bit. And the most interesting thing of this was that it was very essential that you could see my left foot. So in the image, you can see my big shoe in the corner, and it had some kind of reference point. So also for me, this started to be a very interesting thing, that if you are trying to give somebody an experience, it has, in my case, I want it to be very surprising and unfamiliar, but also you need a reference which is recognizable and keeps you in the experience instead of just floating like I don't get it, or it's too overwhelming. And so here are a few of the other works. I don't know what's happening. Something I got a pop up. Here are 3 of the works. One is about the sneeze, one is about a gesture of turning around, and then the top one, I dive a little bit further into it because it's the work Yellow, which has been bought by one of the hospitals, and it's there permanently. what was interesting about this work was I casted like this live cast stuff on somebody's face. I made 5 moments of the word yellow into a sculpture, and people started to mimic or copy the gesture. So here's a visitor of the exhibition very clearly making the eh. And a lot of people did this, and then they, by following the je, l, o, v, they figured it out. So it was also a way of trying to give them a physical experience, but then giving them ownership, I think, of figuring out the puzzle of it. And here's a work that I made in 2016, I think it was. And it's an axis with all these small strings, which you are probably familiar with the dress of Tina Turner, where she's dancing around and all the little fringes go up and down. Well, this thing is made of those fringes. And when you turn it around on full speed, you see this figure of making a pirouette. And if I make it turn slower or make it sort of twisty, then it starts to dance and have all of these characteristics, which could also be doubt or being very proud or preparing yourself or the moment that you let go of everything and sort of melt. All of these gestures I could put into them. But this was the result of a 2-year research master with the question, how can I be in control of this bodily gesture that people seem to feel activated when they see my work? And this worked out pretty well because people started to copy this work and started to dance. So there were a lot of people in the room making all sorts of pirouettes, but also people started to cry or feel very emotional. And I started to be more and more curious about this kind of effect. So I approached the hospital, Amsterdam UMC, it's now called. Then it was still called the Amsterdam Medical Center. It was shorter, but then I sat at the rehabilitation department, and this was my first actual encounter with positioning myself into a healthcare situation, and then talking to all the healthcare professionals and patients in the same location, and making myself being quite present in the whole thing. So they had to somehow face me there. And this was in 2018. And at that moment, I don't know, I have to check with Marie and Cornelia later, but for me, it felt like there was art in healthcare, but it was there to distract. So you had these hallways, you had paintings, you had very notable color things, like everybody wanted everything to be green because it made people happy and remind them of nature. But then I got in and I was curious about something else, like can art or the intervention of art or the method of artists also have some kind of beneficial component in the whole treatment? So for example, if you would be able to have somebody move, but in a way more playful gesture, so could you make it more unconscious kind of suggestions that people start to automatically move things instead of making it so cognitive or rational? So this was then, it feels like a long time ago, and I think it is. But then based on the conversations that I had with these rehabilitation patients and also some doctors, I developed this work, which is a tree carved into a leg and then making it into the shape of an automaton. This is a big work, by the way. It's like the width is something like 2 meters plus something. And it has the suggestion that it can move, but it can't because it's stuck. And we placed it into this vitrine, and then people came to see, and I was there to have conversations, because I think in my work, one of the most essential components of my work is having conversations with people. I'm not so interested in putting my work somewhere and then letting it be, and then I don't know. I think my work is almost like I create conversation pieces and then I gather reflective thoughts and sentences. And so this was a few years ago. I had a solo exhibition in Museum de Fundatie, which is in Zwolle in the Netherlands. And it was called Bodied, in Dutch gelichaamd, which is a word that doesn't exist, but then we spread it out. It was quite an interesting conversation, because then you're talking to a museum and you're basically saying, like, yeah, you can try to reach your audience, but I need my audience, which are patients, people with trouble with their bodies, chronic pain, healthcare professionals. I want institutions there that are working with the body as something other than just culture and art audience, who come to see something and then they move away, have a cup of coffee, and you never see them again. I said, I'm going to be there, like, if at least 50% of the time, and then I want to have interesting conversations. So they agreed, and I think there were more people coming in wheelchairs than they've ever seen before, so that was great. This is also one of the works about the leg, which can move, and it was representing all kind of sensations. Like, it was also making a lot of noise. It was almost like an orgel. Those things in church. What's it called in English? Not organ. Yeah, orgel. Well, you know, with the big pipes.
Organ.
Yeah, organ. And it was making a lot of noise, and sometimes it was very harmonic, and it was sort of comforting sound, but I also really composed a noise of being something on the edge, and like it was almost like, and people would also cringe of the whole experience. But it was all based on trying to not make something beautiful and pretty, but make something real. Like, life is not only about success, and it's not only about happiness. So I'm trying to broaden the spectrum of what we are allowed to feel, or what we are allowed to experience, and also in that sense create, as far as I can reach out, but create a world where if you are having difficulties, that you're still part of society, instead of having to step back because something is not really working as your successful neighbor, and, you know, being able to still participate in everything without feeling that you have to step back because you're some kind of a default. So here's my uncle, who got an infarct, a TIA, we say, or a bleed. He was bleeding his brain, and his left side started to be sort of paralyzed, not all the way, but it was quite devastating for him in the experience, especially because he was a piano player. So being left with a non-functional left hand was quite a thing, and his experience of time was completely off chart. So he couldn't make a difference between 5 minutes or an hour, which is also very difficult if you're working with music. And I asked him if he could draw lines around his hands, and on this paper you can see that his right hand, which was the good hand, is then drawn with this sort of circus of little strings, because he's drawing it with his left hand, his bad hand, you could say, while his neglected hand is on the paper being drawn around with the hand which is completely functional. And you see that his bad hand is then on the paper. You know, the two hands, the function of the hand changes on the paper, and it's a very poetic document, and it's a video actually, and then of course also this photo and a drawing, you could say. But it's now being used in education to have a conversation about what happens if you look at somebody struggling, having difficulties, and if this is then a way of opening up to seeing something beautiful and poetic and hurtful at the same time. So can you stay in the moment when you think, I shouldn't be looking at this? for my uncle, it was a great experience. He loved it. And he said, if all my exercises in healthcare could have been like this, it would have been great fun. So it's a playful way of activating rehabilitation, you could say. This was a project, I think I'm going to skip this one, but it was based on terminally ill cancer patients, and we co-created works. So I had 4 different patients and made 4 different works. Yeah, if you want, I can talk about it later a bit more, but let's skip it for now. And this is my toolbox of complex disabilities, and also a lot of them are non-verbal. So I try to figure out if we can, for example, make jokes without words, like touching each other's pinky, or making something sound, or making something fall into some object. Or so this is where we play around, and then I try to observe what could be something that's now being left out in care strategic plans, or for example, if there should be more attention to the auditive development instead of only being based on that somebody needs to be fed or something. This is one of my latest projects. It's about drawing physical experiences, and we did it with teenagers with eating disorders, which is a very interesting and very difficult group to work with, I figured out. But these are some of the drawings that came from that. And this is sort of the first time I tried this method with clay. It was on a workshop. And some of those shapes I have right in front of me, so I can also show it later in front of the camera. But there was based on making couples of 2 people and then giving them a sheet of questions, very open questions about their physical experience. And they gave me back that they had a very intimate conversation without having to disclose any of their personal story. So that was super interesting. And this is where my recent project came from. I don't know how much time I've got left, Marie. 5? Oh, great.
Yeah, roughly. Yeah, 3 to 5.
Okay. Oh, perfect. So this is the project that I sent in for the open call, which I received, so I was very happy. And this is the experience atelier. In Dutch, it's called Meemaak Atelier, which is a bit better because it's a double connotation of the experiencing something, but also co-creating. That's the same word when you say Meemaak Atelier. And here, this is in the Amsterdam UMC. So after all this time, I got back to where it started with the yellow faces. And it's a mobile atelier. So you have these boxes. I can close them and put them away, but also I can, in 5 minutes, magically just turn a workshop, put there a workshop with a desk and seats and all my tools. And then people are invited by doctors of the departments of chronic pain. They invite the patients to come a bit earlier before their consultation, and they come to me and they sit with me, and we try to find the shape of their physical experience. So most of the time, of course, that's pain. And then, so the questions I ask are, so what color does your pain have, or your sensations have? Does it have a texture? What's it made of? Does it have a certain mass? Is it like sugar? What's the suikerspin? The sugar, the sugar fluff? Is it like sugar fluff? Or is it filled with rice? Or is it watery? Is it like a balloon that you can pinch and then it breaks open and you have a leak? Or does it, can you pounce it? Or does it want to move? What's the weight of it? What's the size of it? And based on those kind of questions, we come to this shape, and if they want, they can take the shape to the doctor. And then the doctors are trained by me, because that's the difficult part. At first they don't know how to have a conversation about these shapes, because they're conversation mainly about medicine and treatment plan. So all of a sudden, somebody brings this shape and they have to know what questions to ask. So I give them a training before. And what is amazing about this experience, which it feels very rich that I can have this project running for a longer time, because now I'm gathering all these amazing conversation moments where people say, for example, afterwards they say, it's incredible because I've got this chronic pain, but now talking to you and making this shape, it's gone. It's been gone for 30 minutes. And then we can try to figure out why did it move? What happened? And what's also really nice about this way of working is that I don't need to have any personal information. I don't actually even need a name. I don't need a diagnosis. I don't need anything. So I can just be there asking all these open questions, diving into abstraction and association, and it's almost sometimes a bit like mindfulness or something, but it's more making something into material. It's also very concrete, and the details are amazing. People can really tell me, like, you made this bump over there, but it should be like half a centimeter more to the right, to the left or the right. And then I have to move this thing, or they say, well, it's slightly too big. You need to take off like 2 centimeters, or which also creates this amazing thing that the sensations that they're having, which most of them had, of course, this moment of it's all in your head, or we have this thing when it's chronic, maybe you design it yourself in your head or something, or it's your own will. And then when it became so detailed, it also creates this existence and this importance and feeling heard. So it's great. And then to summarize the bullet points, which of course Marie asked me about. Yeah, 1 minute? Okay, great. So it gave me a nice time to reflect on those kind of questions, because mainly you look forward, like what's next. But now I figured out that I really can say that finding my ambassadors in this field, in this working field, became way more important than trying to build a network. So it's like one person who believes in you is way more functional than going to these meetings and these openings and emailing everybody. And it's more interesting to have one person who really gets you. So just find that person. And with find that person, I also mean, like, one of the faults I made was writing too long about a project before sending it in, and then figuring out later that the only thing you have to do is go there, have a conversation, go there live, meet people, instead of trying to figure out what it should be, or what it's, how you're going to work with it. And document all your findings, because that's the real value. At least if you want to work like I did, then the real value is having this huge amount of conversational, reflective moments, because these kind of works in the clay form in the boxes, they're all going to go into some kind of, I don't know, box. While the conversation that you had have these enormous amount of value, and I think that's the real material, I would say, in my case. Is there still time? Because I thought I'll just round up.
Yeah, like I mean, this is exactly what I think we are very curious about. So if you have more of those sharings, or my questions would direct you in those direction anyways.
Yeah.
If you want to share more of those, please do.
Well, there's a few more.
Yeah.
I wrote down, keep your base. And when you're working in this field, there's a few things that are very lurky. Like when you're working with academics, it's very easy to fall into the idea of making things complex and asking all of these questions and building on structures and following these. I found a way to always sort of bypass all of the rules and the ethic. You have all these the commissions that have to figure out if if you are following the rules of the hospital or the healthcare facilitation. But then if you work without having all of these private information, if you can work in a way that it's not so much about all of the information that healthcare needs to work, but I don't, then it's very easy to move around and to be very free, and the free part, and also the being sort of basic, or working from, it's basically just working from curiosity, where all the academics have to work from knowing and figuring out and proving. And the conversations are way more interesting if you keep your base and you stay working with the sort of simplified, clear, curiosity, open space. And you invite them to come in and to have a conversation about how can we benefit each other. So don't make yourself melt into the system that's asking you to come into the system. Try to say no to that. And then the challenges that I have, but also, of course, you already dressed in those things with previous presentations of the Culture Action Europe. It's like my methods are sometimes feel effortless because it's so open. And for me, it's easy because I've been working like this for 22 years, but they are being copied. And there are professionals that feel threatened. For example, the creative therapy department. But the work I do is different because I have no goal. There's no therapy involved. Although I do know how to work with things like being overwhelmed or those kind of, or anxiety, or of course I trained myself because it's part of it. But it's interesting that they can be there simultaneously, but sometimes, of course, you feel like you see your work being implemented somewhere else. So that's a challenge. How do you protect your work when you are, as in my case, very open in sharing what you've been doing? And another challenge is everybody gets paid except for the artists, which is still the case. So it's like the art department gets paid, the healthcare professionals get paid, all the researchers get paid. And maybe it's also sort of a fundament with the patient not being paid. I'm also not being paid. So it's an equal position in that case,
Yeah.
which works. So it's still, that's an interesting challenge, that it's still, I'm also still trying to find ways to have those conversations, because at least in the Netherlands, there's a big amount of old, of an old idea that artists get some kind of have some kind of a basic income from the government, and so they can do this work. But of course, it's not like that anymore for a long time. And what's also a challenge is that when I'm working in this atelier, I'm not busy promoting myself on socials. I'm not reading into interesting documentation, and that balance is always a struggle. Like, how much time do you work on your work, and how much time are you writing, reading, staying updated, getting yourself informed and speak out about your
Yeah. Okay. Fantastic. Thank you so much for sharing all of this. This is really interesting on how you got where you are right now. You just like in a like half a sentence at the end, you said, "Of course, I trained myself on how to deal with those what everything those patients are sharing with you." I think for you it might be very obvious, but can you maybe share like how did you train yourself? Because I mean, what those patients are sharing might be overwhelming or disturbing. And how did you prepare yourself to deal with that?
Yeah, good question. I think one of the things which is interesting when you ask people about their physical experiences, they feel like it's a bit scary for a lot of people, because maybe it feels like opening the box of Pandora. It's like, oh no, I've been hiding this feeling or these ideas somewhere in my body. And then when you ask about it, it's going to be like, So being able to provide a very safe space, making somebody feel like I'm here, I'm not going anywhere, and this is the space where you can be vulnerable is very important. And during the last few years, I've followed education to be a body-oriented coach and trauma therapist. And maybe it was more for me to get more into depth with asking the right questions. Because the funny thing is that when I work with somebody, there can be tears, there can be lots of feelings, but most of the time people feel relief and comfort and seen. And so it's a nice contrast between the idea of what's going to happen and what actually happens. So there's something opens up or makes way to be released or something. But the release is not like, but the release is way more gentle. It's like, thank you for seeing me, or thank you for hearing me. And then I'm the one asking questions, or I sometimes also make the relation to, if you have a small hole in your wall and there's a mouse living in there, then it will not come out when you hit the ball, like come out, come out, come out. You have to put in this small crumb and then just sit in front of it and wait and make sure it understands that you're friendly. And this is the feeling, it's not like the person is not the mouse, but it's the internal feeling, like you invite them, like, come on, I'm not gonna, hurt you. It's okay, come on.
Yeah, I understand. Yeah, that's very nicely put. That's a very nice metaphor. And then, even though time is really scarce, I have this other burning question, because you said you're training the doctors to have these conversations about the sculptures with their patients. I'm just curious because, like, how did the doctors react? Like, how is your relationship with them, and how did you build this relationship? Because I think as they're using it now, they're trusting you, which is fantastic, and which is exactly what we need. But can you just, if possible, share briefly how you build this relationship with the doctors?
Yeah, that's an interesting question, because I think it has to do with making a few miles. Like you can show up and say, I've been doing all of these work things, or I've been trying all of these different projects. So you also kind of say, I know what I'm doing, even though most of the time I don't know what I'm doing. I'm just feeling something, what I'm doing, and following on it. But when I give the training, they have the same kind of fear for a little bit, that they might be discovered, right? It's this idea that when you open up, it's almost like, because I don't tell them like rip open all of the difficult sensations. I don't do that. I just say, so let's see if we can find within yourself something that's drawing your attention, and maybe it has a color. That's what I'm asking. But they feel like you're ripping open. It's like bleh, everything will come out. So it's sort of this gentle invitation that they also find very comforting. And also they start to be more and more open to, maybe there is a way of being this healthcare professional and be feeling all of this empathy. Because a lot of the education is based on that you have this professional distance. But of course, there's a lot of critique coming from patients feeling like I don't even know why I was here, because this whole conversation was based on nothing that I need. It was based on something that's in the computer, but it's not like I felt heard. And then when you have a doctor who knows how to hold space and hear what's the essence of the visit. So I think in the whole workshop, I tried to make them feel that part.
Yeah. But how did you actually get in touch with a doctor? Like at the first place?
Via email.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the whole thing. I think if you start writing a whole project proposal, it takes months, and then somebody says, no, we're not going to do it. And you've lost all this time. And I think with the ambassador part, I also mean that when you just send an email, you first try to find a healthcare professional that somehow clicks with you, and you feel like they might understand where I'm coming from. And so I send an email, or or I pick up the phone, and then let's say that out of 10 conversations, there's 2 that stick.
Mm-hmm.
And then throughout the year, I try to really respect that kind of relationship and try to build upon it and make them feel really involved. And then sometimes it's like the theme finds its way to work together again.
Yeah, fantastic. Thank you.
Yeah.
I would like to open the room. I think we do have time for a question or two if you have any questions. Um, I'm in case otherwise, of course, we can also address further questions in the breakout rooms afterwards. Ute.
Yeah, hi, thank you very much. You said artists are not getting paid, but I guess you are getting paid. And I'm interested in how does that work? Does the institution pay you? Does it come from elsewhere? Um, how does it work?
Well, I'm not getting paid in that sense. So it was an honest thing. But I got the Open Goal fundings, which was an amazing input to start off with. And then with this funding, I could also approach the art department of the hospital to say it's not enough. So what do you think? And he said, well, I'm going to also help you. So he also put in some money, and then I started a GoFundMe campaign where I gathered some money. And now I'm trying to find other departments to also get involved. It's sort of, yeah, it's like gathering from all sorts of directions, gather some more and more money, and then, yeah, living cheap, I guess.
So this is where we're
Yeah.
trying to support. Yeah, we need to find ways here, definitely. Yeah. Okay, well, I
Yeah.
say thank you. Big thank you
And
to
maybe it works out that the institution starts to pay me after all, because funny enough, as soon as you pack up and you go, then they think, it was actually very valuable, and then maybe you
Yeah,
go
that's
back.
what we need. I mean, that's what we are working towards, that
Yeah.
we are being like you are being paid by the health sector as well. Definitely. Yeah, absolutely. Well, big thank you to you, NIEKE. That was very inspiring. Yeah, thank you so much. I am now like warmly welcoming Lydia to the stage, who will share with us her work in elderly care. Welcome, Lydia, and yeah, the floor is yours.
Thank you. And I would like to say hello to everybody from my city, Zenica in Bosnia and Herzegovina. We have a very beautiful sunny day today, so I'm also happy because we have a lot of things going on in our space that I will show you in a second. Just let me share my screen with you. Just a second. Yeah, you can.
Yeah.
I hope you can see my slides.
Perfect.
So this is basically where I'm at now, and we have a lot of activities taking place. Now Monday is usually quite a busy day, uh, uh, and I'm sorry if somebody comes in and maybe there will be some people talking in front, but I think it will be okay. It will not be a problem. So as I said, this is where I'm at now. This space that you see on the photos is where my association, which is called Naš Most, is based. So I'm a member of the association Naš Most since probably 10 years. I joined 10 years ago a small group of people who are actually not professional artists. So we don't have a background in arts. It was just a spontaneous idea. We took over an association, a space of an association that was about to close. And conveniently enough, Naš Most, we took also the name. of the previous association. Naš most means our bridge, and this is exactly what we are trying to do. We are trying to make a bridge between people who belong to the so-called vulnerable groups in my city and the society. It was also a spontaneous fact that most of our members are older people. It just happened to be that way, and then after a while we actually saw that there is a lot of need because in Bosnia and Herzegovina, especially in my city, Zenica, situation, there are no services for older people. Many younger Bosnians go out because the situation, even so many years after the war, is not good and it's not promising. And many older people are left alone. Their families are going abroad and they don't really have anybody to, not even to chat to. So most of the activities of retired people are watching TV and calling their loved ones on Facebook because many of them are going or have already gone away. So as I already said, we are a group of people who are experimenting with different crafts. So we actually started teaching each other, showing each other what everybody was, doing at home alone, and then we actually started uh, developing so-called crafts workshops. At first for a small group of people, and then because we saw that there is a lot of need, there are a lot of older people who are very lonely and they don't have any social activities. Basically, we started involving other people from our city, and now we have a group of probably 80 people who are coming to our activities regularly, and the association is growing. The space that you see, we also have a small garden, and we also use a space in front of our association, which is situated in the city center, because there are more and more people coming, and the city governments, they also see that what we are doing is meaningful, so they give us some additional space, and we are basically occupying whatever angle we see that is available, because there are many people coming, and we really feel we are happy about what we are doing. As I said in the previous slide, we are teaching each other what we know. So not the man that you see on this photo is maybe the only one who has a background in education. He studied applied arts, and this carpet, we call it the carpet because it has we use the motifs from the traditional Bosnian carpets, is placed in the front of our association. And Hilmo, the man whose hand you see on the photo, he did, let's say, final touches of this big carpet that we actually made with a group of children from several elementary schools from Zenica 2 years ago during the children week. And this is one of the rare photos and rare situations that you see one person involved. Because what we see is very important for us is actually that we do things together. So for us, it's more important for people to gather, to socialize, to chat, to have fun, to have coffees, and also to make things together. But we prioritize building connections and allowing a space for socialization for our members. And the carpet that you've seen on the previous slide is actually, as I said, it was made by a big group of children in front of in the main street, and then it was we continued to finish it in our association, and we involved children, and also we involved another association which works with young people with disabilities, and also our members who are a core group of nationals, which are older people. So even though we are focused on older people, we also work with other groups. We don't we go we do as we see the need. So we don't really have exclusive activities for one group or another. We just do what we feel is right, and what is important, and what is needed, and what is missing at the social service level. So this is Azra. She's one of our very active members. She's now here in another room, and she, for example, she is one of the many members who came to join our association when she got retired. She had a lot of free time. Her children are not in Bosnia anymore, and she felt quite depressed, and she didn't really have a lot of interactions at some point. And then her daughter actually told her to come, and then she joined. And now because she was a creative person, but she didn't have much time when she was still working. Now she became one of our most active members. She's now experimenting with silk painting, and this is the two scarves that she made during some workshops. So now she became, like, let's say, a teacher. So now she's teaching other members of Nationals how to paint on silk. And actually, after this session, we will start to do some curtains, also made of silk, for the windows, to decorate our association even more. And as I already said, we see that there is a lot of need for socialization of older people, not only in Zanica, but in the whole country. And we actually, not that we care so much about recognitions that come from outside, because we see that what we do is right. But for example, World Health Organization has put Nash Most on their platform for as a good practice of healthy aging, and the president of our association was also awarded. She was recognized as one of the 50 global leaders in healthy aging through art. So we are happy about those recognitions, although they are not the most important, and we are not doing what we do for them. But on let's say a city level, other than the space that we have from the city, we don't have much support. But yeah, I don't want to go into these financial burdens so much, because we still manage to do things, even though we don't have we are all volunteers, so there's nobody who gets a salary. So we basically buy materials from some small projects that we get, and also members or families, children of our members, they donate some money from time to time. So this is how we manage to do activities. And this was one of the workshops that we held this spring with guests from Germany and Greece. There was an artist from Athens, and one of the artists from Berlin, who actually came, and we shared what we do with them. They shared some interesting techniques with us. And on the left, this was the beginning of the workshop of textile printing, which we didn't actually know about before, and we started using this technique, which is a very simple technique. You basically need some essential oil, a piece of textile, and a photo that you want to print. And now, because it's very simple, we started using it as part of our activities when we do exhibitions. And on the right, you see one of the techniques that we like to do a lot, which is iron painting technique. So we show them how we do it, what we do it with that, and they really loved it. So they started to also do iron painting with their own groups. So yeah, as I already said, what we do is everything we do is an activity that we do together. We do things together. We experiment together, and we learn together. This is one of the ceramics workshops that we are now doing since last year. We have regular ceramic workshops. These are the first steps, let's say, that we stepped into the world of clay, and we also understood that working with clay is good for motorics. Older people, sometimes you have problems with moving the hands. I don't know the exact words. So working with clay helps a lot to relax the muscles of the hands. And yeah, we really enjoy working with clay, and we hope to develop future initiatives and do even bigger pieces. These are the small, as you can see, these are the small souvenirs
Thank you.
that we did.
As time is running, could you maybe also focus on like what your learnings from these interventions were?
Yes, well, actually, we are very flexible. As I said, we are learning by doing, and we are doing what we see is functioning. And we tend not to do things that are not interesting or are not very engaging. So for us, as I said, we believe that participation and shared ownership is a crucial and we tend to give a lot of space, opportunity for everybody to do whatever they want. So we have some members who do exhibitions of their own works and sell some works, even though this is not the priority. But for some other people, it's also important to make some income from what they do, because it's also it also helps them to live independently. We have regular, let's say, fairs of the crafts of our members, and it's, as I said, it's not the commercial aspect is not the most important one, but also because it gives opportunity to our members to exhibit their works and share with other people from Zanica who are not the members. So this also brings other interested people to join our activities, and it also helps our members to be like it makes them happy to show their works and even to sell. Like it's really a big, for some of them it's really a big deal. Like, wow, I sold I sold something that I did with my hands, and it's really nice. This is an image of one of the bazaars that we do every second week when the time permits, because it's an open air fair. And yeah, as I mentioned, we had guests from Germany and Greece this spring. We are very happy to learn from other people and bring other people that are not necessarily from Bosnia, that have they come from other realities, to learn from each other. And this is my new friend whom I met this summer. She's an embroidery artist from France, and I hope that Helen can come and other beautiful, marvelous people who I met in Holland this summer, so that we can do things together. Because she showed us actually how she does social embroidery projects in Strasbourg, and it will be great for us to learn how to do it and also to share with her what we do. And yeah, that's it. This is one of the walls from the garden of our association. And yeah, I would like to just repeat again that for us, the connection is what is the most important aspect of crafts. And this is my presentation is called Crafting Connections.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Lydia. Wonderful. Thank you very much indeed. I mean, if I put this like if I understood you correctly, I would say your two main learnings were to well, on the one hand side, it's very important to share or to showcase what people are doing, and they're really enjoying the showcasing and this also selling of their projects. And then on the other hand, to stay in touch with other artists and be in exchange and learn from each other. I was also wondering
Yes.
because at some point you said like you go where where you see the need. And then I was wondering how people actually find you and if you have some fixed hours where people can just show up and come, or do people need to register, or how does that like practically go?
Mhm. Yeah, what I meant is that we are very flexible with the the flow of our activities. Well, we are, as I said, we are volunteers, so everybody devotes as much time as they can. But we are in the association every day, uh, depending on the activities, and it's joining the activities is open to everybody. And this is what I also said, that it's not exclusively for older people, but we also work with other with other people, other groups. So it's quite a flexible
Yeah.
structure and quite a flexible let's say process that we have.
Yeah, thank you. I would like to open the floor in case there are any further questions of you, our participants. Otherwise, as we will now move to the breakout rooms, of course, there's also room to raise any questions or aspects there. Um, if there are no questions now, I think I will just move on if you don't mind. Thank you so much, Lydia, again for your wonderful presentation.
Thank you.
Before we start with the breakout rooms, I just, because like sometimes people are unfortunately leaving, I would just like to briefly point out what's happening next. We do have another or two other roundtables the upcoming month. And we still continue with our trainings online. Here are just two examples that are being held in the close future in English. But please have a look at our website for further trainings. There is, of course, our wonderful conference next week. Unfortunately, I think it would be too late to sign up now, but it will be recorded. At least parts of it will be recorded, and you can see it online afterwards. I will just put in the chat briefly some more links to please stay in touch before I now move on to the round tables. I will stop the recording now. I will just have to stop